Insects are a class of invertebrates within the arthropod phylum that have a chitinous exoskeleton, a three-part body, 3 pairs of jointed legs, compound eyes and 1 pair of antennae. They are among the most diverse groups of animals on the planet, including more than 1 million described species and representing more than half of all known living organisms. The number of extant species is estimated at between 6 and 10 million, and potentially represent over 90% of the differing animal life forms on Earth. Insects may be found in nearly all environments, although only a small number of species reside in the oceans, a habitat dominated by another arthropod group, crustaceans. The life cycles of insects vary, but most insects hatch from eggs. Insect growth is constrained by the inelastic exoskeleton, and development involves a series of molts. The immature stages can differ from the adults in structure, habit and habitat, and can include a passive pupal stage in those groups that undergo 4-stage metamorphosis. Insects that undergo 3-stage metamorphosis lack a pupal stage, and adults develop through a series of nymphal stages. The higher-level relationship of the hexapoda is unclear. Fossilized insects of enormous size have been found from the Paleozoic era, including giant dragonflies with wingspans of 55 to 70 centimeters. The most diverse insect groups appear to have co-evolved with flowering plants. Adult insects typically move about by walking, flying, or sometimes swimming, as it allows for rapid yet stable movement. Many insects adopt a tripedal gait in which they walk with their legs touching the ground in alternating triangles. Insects are the only invertebrates to have evolved flight. Many insects spend at least part of their lives underwater, with larval adaptations that include gills, and some adult insects are aquatic and have adaptations for swimming. Some species, such as water spiders, are capable of walking on the surface of water. Insects are mostly solitary, but some, such as certain bees, ants and termites, are social and live in large, well-organized colonies. Some insects, such as earwigs, show maternal care, guarding their eggs and young. Insects can communicate with each other in a variety of ways. Male moths can sense the pheromones of female moths over great distances. Other species communicate with sounds. Crickets stridulate, or rub their wings together, to attract a mate and repel other males. Lampreyridae in the beetle order Coleoptera communicate with light. Humans regard certain insects as pests, and attempt to control them using insecticides and a host of other techniques. Some insects damage crops by feeding on sap, leaves or fruits. A few parasitic species are pathogenic. Some insects perform complex ecological roles. Blowflies, for example, help consume carrion but also spread diseases. LNSECT pollinators are essential to the life cycle of many flowering plant species on which most organisms, including humans, are at least partly dependent. Without them, the terrestrial portion of the biosphere would be devastated. Many other insects are considered ecologically beneficial as predators, and a few provide direct economic benefit. Silkworms and bees have been used extensively by humans for the production of silk and honey, respectively. In some cultures, people eat the larvae or adults of certain insects. Etymology. The word insect comes from the Latin word insectum, meaning with a notched or divided body, or literally cut in two. From the neuter singular past participle of insectare, to cut into, to cut up. From into, and secere, to cut, because insects appear cut into 3 sections. Pliny the Elder introduced the Latin designation as a loan translation of the Greek word mu tau omicron mu omicron sigma, or insect, which was Aristotle's term for this class of life, also in reference to their notched bodies. Insect first appears documented in English in 1601 in Holland's translation of Pliny. Translations of Aristotle's term also form the usual word for insect in Welsh, Serbo-Croatian, Russian, etc. Phylogeny and Evolution. The evolutionary relationship of insects to other animal groups remains unclear, although traditionally grouped with millipedes and centipedes, possibly on the basis of convergent adaptations to terrestrialization. Evidence has emerged favoring closer evolutionary ties with crustaceans. In the pancrustacea theory, insects, together with Remipedia and Malacostraca, make up a natural clade. A report in November 2014 unambiguously places the insects in one clade, with the crustaceans and myriapods as the nearest sister clades. This study resolved insect phylogeny of all extant insect orders, and provides a robust phylogenetic backbone tree and reliable time estimates of insect evolution. Other terrestrial arthropods, such as centipedes, millipedes, scorpions and spiders, are sometimes confused with insects since their body plans can appear similar, sharing a jointed exoskeleton. However, upon closer examination their features differ significantly. Most noticeably, they do not have the six-leg characteristic of adult insects. The higher-level phylogeny of the arthropods continues to be a matter of debate and research. In 2008, researchers at Tufts University uncovered what they believe is the world's oldest known full-body impression of a primitive flying insect, a 300-million-year-old specimen from the Carboniferous period. The oldest definitive insect fossil is the Devonian Rhyniognatha hursti, from the 396-million-year-old Rhynichert. It may have superficially resembled a modern-day silverfish insect. This species already possessed dicondylic mandibles, a feature associated with winged insects, suggesting that wings may already have evolved at this time. Thus, the first insects probably appeared earlier, in the Silurian period. There have been 4 superradiations of insects: beetles, flies, moths and wasps. These 4 groups account for the majority of described species. The flies and moths along with the fleas evolved from the Mecoptera. The origins of insect flight remain obscure, since the earliest winged insects currently known appear to have been capable flyers. Some extinct insects had an additional pair of winglets attaching to the first segment of the thorax, for a total of 3 pairs. As of 2009, there is no evidence that suggests that the insects were a particularly successful group of animals before they evolved to have wings. Late Carboniferous and early Permian insect orders include both extant groups, their stem groups, and a number of Paleozoic groups, now extinct. During this era, some giant dragonfly-like forms reached wingspans of 55 to 70 centimeters, making them far larger than any living insect. This gigantism may have been due to higher atmospheric oxygen levels that allowed increased respiratory efficiency relative to today. The lack of flying vertebrates could have been another factor. Most extinct orders of insects developed during the Permian period that began around 270 million years ago. Many of the early groups became extinct during the Permian-Triassic extinction event, the largest mass extinction in the history of the Earth, around 252 million years ago. The remarkably successful Hymenopterans appeared as long as 146 million years ago in the Cretaceous period, but achieved their wide diversity more recently in the Cenozoic era, which began 66 million years ago. A number of highly successful insect groups evolved in conjunction with flowering plants, a powerful illustration of coevolution. Many modern insect genera developed during the Cenozoic. Insects from this period on are often found preserved in amber, often in perfect condition. The body plan, or morphology, of such specimens is thus easily compared with modern species. The study of fossilized insects is called paleoentomology. Evolutionary relationships. Insects are prey for a variety of organisms, including terrestrial vertebrates. The earliest vertebrates on land existed 400 million years ago and were large amphibious piscivores. Through gradual evolutionary change, insectivory was the next diet type to evolve. Insects were among the earliest terrestrial herbivores and acted as major selection agents on plants. Plants evolved chemical defenses against this herbivory, and the insects in turn evolved mechanisms to deal with plant toxins. Many insects make use of these toxins to protect themselves from their predators. Such insects often advertise their toxicity using warning colors. This successful evolutionary pattern has also been utilized by mimics. Over time, this has led to complex groups of co-evolved species. Conversely, some interactions between plants and insects, like pollination, are beneficial to both organisms. Coevolution has led to the development of very specific mutualisms in such systems. Taxonomy. Traditional morphology-based or appearance-based systematics has usually given Hexapoda the rank of superclass, and identified 4 groups within it: insects, springtails, Protura and Diplora, the latter 3 being grouped together as Entagnatha on the basis of internalized mouthparts. Supraordinal relationships have undergone numerous changes with the advent of methods based on evolutionary history and genetic data. A recent theory is that Hexapoda is polyphyletic, with the Entagnatha classes having separate evolutionary histories from Insecta. Many of the traditional appearance-based taxa have been shown to be paraphyletic, so rather than using ranks like subclass, superorder and infraorder, it has proved better to use monophyletic groupings. The following represents the best supported monophyletic groupings for the Insecta. Insects can be divided into 2 groups historically treated as subclasses: wingless insects, known as Apterygota, and winged insects, known as Pterygota. The Apterygota consist of the primitively wingless order of the silverfish. Archaeognatha make up the monocondylia based on the shape of their mandibles, while Thysanura and Pterygota are grouped together as dicondylia. It is possible that the Thysanura themselves are not monophyletic, with the family Lepidotrichidae being a sister group to the dicondylia. Paleoptera and Neoptera are the winged orders of insects differentiated by the presence of hardened body parts called sclerites, also, in Neoptera, muscles that allow their wings to fold flatly over the abdomen. Neoptera can further be divided into incomplete metamorphosis-based and complete metamorphosis-based groups. It has proved difficult to clarify the relationships between the orders in Polyneoptera because of constant new findings calling for revision of the taxa. For example, Paraneoptera has turned out to be more closely related to Endopterygota than to the rest of the Exopterygota. The recent molecular finding that the traditional louse orders Malophaga and Anaplura are derived from within Cercoptera has led to the new taxon. Cercodi, Phasmatodea and Imbiodina have been suggested to form Euchenlabia. Mantodea, Blatodea and Isoptera are thought to form a monophyletic group termed Dictyoptera. It is likely that Exopterygota is paraphyletic in regard to Endopterygota. Matters that have had a lot of controversy include Strepsiptera and Diptera grouped together as Halteria based on a reduction of one of the wing pairs, a position not well supported in the entomological community. The Neuropterida are often lumped or split on the whims of the taxonomist. Fleas are now thought to be closely related to Boreid Mecopterans. Many questions remain to be answered when it comes to basal relationships amongst Endopterygote orders, particularly Hymenoptera. The study of the classification or taxonomy of any insect is called systematic entomology. If one works with a more specific order or even a family, the term may also be made specific to that order or family. For example, systematic dipterology, distribution and diversity. Though the true dimensions of species diversity remain uncertain, estimates range from 2.6–7.8 million species with a mean of 5.5 million. This probably represents less than 20% of all species on Earth, and with only about 20,000 new species of all organisms being described each year. Most species likely will remain undescribed for many years unless species descriptions increase in rate. About 850,000–1 million of all described species are insects. Of the 24 orders of insects, 4 dominate in terms of numbers of described species, with at least 3 million species included in Coleoptera, Diptera, Hymenoptera and Lepidoptera. A recent study estimated the number of beetles at 0.9–2.1 million with a mean of 1.5 million.